Hey everyone, James Baek here, and here I have a very special VGC episode for you guys today. Today is the 50th episode of VGC, and I decided why not kick things off with the regionals games that I have played when I was at Virginia Regionals this past weekend. And a lot of great games, and yeah, we'll definitely be getting into it. I started recording around I believe it was either round 4 or 5. It was round 5. So I started off the event 1-2. I ended up choking my first round game. And round 3, it came down to sleep turns, which really wasn't the best. But after that, I went 2-2 after lunch break. And yeah, this is round 5. Both me and my opponent were 2-2. A single loss would mean we were out of the tournament guaranteed for top cut. So, one loss and no chance at top cut, and I wouldn't even make the top 32 in order to gain the 30 CP I need for my Worlds invite. So we're gonna get into the game. Alright, so here will be my round 5 match versus Matt Scholler, and my team will be Kangaskhan, Suicune, Thundurus Incarnate, Breloom, Bisharp, and Togekiss versus Terrakion, Salamence, Thundurus Incarnate, Greninja, Ferrothorn. And I actually don't remember his last Pokemon, as my notes I accidentally wrote down Salamence twice. So I actually don't remember his last Pokemon. However, I knew that he would bring Ferrothorn, as I don't have a really good way to deal with Ferrothorn. And he knows that too, so he has to utilize Ferrothorn. I also expect Greninja to come out, especially if it has Gunk Shot. I also assume Terrakion, since Terrakion is a really big threat to my team, and I really expect Salamence to come out just because Intimidate is so strong. So I feel like a safe lead would probably be Suicune and Bisharp, because it pretty much threatens everything, especially that Salamence in the back. Especially since Salamence can't lead thanks to a Intimidate giving my Bisharp the Defiant boost. So that's my mindset going into the game. As long as I handle the Ferrothorn and don't take too much damage from these Pokemon, I should be good. Alright, let's get into this game. Round 5. My opponent leads Greninja and Terrakion against my Suicune and Bisharp. Apparently his Pokemon are both shiny, as Suicune and Bisharp will lead. So right here, I start by just wanting to make safe plays, as Greninja is actually going to withdraw into Ferrothorn, which I probably should have anticipated. However, I think I just went for a safe move, as Terrakion does protect. Great move by my opponent to get Ferrothorn in for free, as I went for the Protect with Bisharp because I do not want to lose Bisharp right away, and I went for the Scald into the Terrakion slot. So yeah, not the greatest position, as Terrakion's actually going to switch out into Greninja. A great play, as I think I'm just going to go for the aggressive play and Sucker Punch into the Ferrothorn and Scald into the Greninja. I actually Sucker Punched the Ferrothorn because I did not want Power Whip coming. And I actually do a lot of damage and get the burn on Greninja, which does come into play later. Ferrothorn's actually going to go for Leech Seed, which I don't agree, because he could have just KO'd me with Power Whip potentially, or just done a lot of damage. But I'm fine with the Leech Seed. Greninja going to take some burn damage, as he's actually going to withdraw Greninja again. Don't know why you won't want to conserve the Greninja, as it's not doing that much work. Going to bring out the Thundurus, and I'm actually going to withdraw Suicune, as I don't want to take a Grass type move right now. I'm going to send out my own Thundurus, as I am going to Sucker Punch into the Greninja slot. Of course, he switched out, and he's going to Leech Seed my Bisharp. Really, I'm okay with the position I'm in. Even though I've been taking a lot of damage, I have weakened his Greninja. And right now, he's just going to go for the Thunderbolt into my Bisharp slot, wanting to get rid of it. I do survive and get the Hidden Power off onto this Thundurus. I actually double attacked the Thundurus, expecting Ferrothorn maybe to just protect or switch out. So I just double target the Thundurus, who I do knock off for the KO, and it actually reveals a Focus Sash, which is an interesting item choice. Bisharp nearly going to faint to Life Orb, as the Power Whip going to go into the Bisharp, which I'm fine with losing Bisharp. I mean, my opponent has revealed that he didn't bring Salamence into this game, so I don't need Bisharp anymore, as he's going to send out Terrakion, and I'm going to send that shiny Terrakion, as I'm going to send out my Suicune. Now, I know he brought out Terrakion, so I know he's going to protect this turn. He does not want to lose Terrakion, as he is going to protect as I anticipated, so I double attack the Ferrothorn this turn. I revealed that I have Thunderbolt, and I'm going to do some chip damage onto this Ferrothorn, which does a lot with a critical hit, and I actually do get the pair out. Does not matter in the end, because I actually do carry Hidden Power Fire on my Suicune, which is actually going to be able to pick up the knockout onto this Ferrothorn thanks to chip damage of Thunderbolt. I did calc for this, and I was pretty much guaranteed to get that knockout, as my opponent's going to reveal his weakened Greninja as his last Pokemon. And the game's pretty much mine. All I have to do is switch out Suicune in order to preserve it for the Terrakion and wait for the burn to do its work against Greninja. As I do send out my Kangaskhan, which I'm fine with losing if necessary. He's going to reveal the Gunk Shot onto the Kangaskhan, which does very little because it's not Life Orb and it's burned. As Rock Slide going to come out from the Terrakion, trying to bait for flinches, I suppose. As the Life Orb, Terrakion, we do reveal, and Thundurus does flinch. I did Thunderbolt the Greninja slot, but I'm actually fine with the flinch, as it's not the worst thing in the world. Here I think I make a misplay on my part. If I remember correctly, I double attack the Greninja slot, because I want to get rid of the Greninja as soon as possible, and actually no, his Terrakion does protect, and I fake out into Terrakion slot. I thought I double target the Greninja for a second, but he actually goes for the Ice Beam. That was a really bad play on my part. I should have just faked out the Greninja and went for the Thunder Wave onto Terrakion. That would have been the better play, but however, I lose my Thundurus, and Kangaskhan is dying to the poison. I can live one more poison, as the burn's taking that Greninja down one more turn and it will be knocked out. As I'm going to send out Suicune as my last Pokemon. And it's going to pretty much seal up this game here. I'm going to Sucker Punch the Greninja since I don't want double Rock Slide or something with this Greninja being crazy. And Sucker Punch does knock it out at that range. And Terrakion going to go for the Rock Slide, which is going to finish off my Kangaskhan. And if he flinches my Suicune, it's pretty much game over, as he can close combat life, and with the Life Orb will KO my Suicune in the end game. But I am able to move and get the Scald off, which is going to be able to KO the Terrakion. And I will take this game very close. Hidden Power Fire, very clutch. It hasn't really come up much, but I do love it for those Ferrothorns that think they're safe, especially as you can see my team really doesn't have them. So now in the event I'm actually 3-2. The score on your screen is wrong because one of my opponents disconnected before the match result was saved in the previous game. So yeah, I am 3-2 currently, and Suicune just was able to pull out. Let's move it on to the next game. Here we have round 6 versus Corey Esmier. I don't know how you pronounce this, so sorry if I'm getting names wrong. With my team of Kangaskhan, Suicune, Thundurus Incarnate, Breloom, Bishop, and Togekiss versus Terrakion, Suicune, Gengar, Zapdos, Gardevoir, and Heatran. So I assume that the Gardevoir is most likely the Mega Pokemon, the Gengar is holding the Focus Sash, the Suicune and Zapdos probably having Tailwind, Terrakion, just really strong Pokemon, and yeah, this was definitely going to be an annoying matchup. As you can see, Kangaskhan doesn't do well against this team. However, I do know that if I can set up Power Punches, I will be able to actually effectively win. So in my mindset, I am thinking Kangaskhan and Thundurus Incarnate because it does pretty well against this team. I don't feel like he's gonna lead Terrakion right away. I think he would rather lead something with Gengar and possibly Suicune in my opinion. So I just want to make a safe lead with Kangaskhan and Suicune, and I am thinking of having, I actually don't really remember who I had in the back. I believe I had Suicune in the back with, I believe it was Breloom, because Breloom does pretty well against this team. Alright, we're heading out into this game, and this opponent is interesting. I let Kangaskhan and Thundurus as my lead against Gengar and Zapdos. Now here, the Gengar and the Zapdos are both threatening. One can set up Tailwind, one can set up Will-O-Wisp. He's actually going to withdraw his Gengar into his Terrakion, which is a play I did expect, to be honest. But I knew Terrakion was going to switch out into one of these slots. I just didn't know which one it was. Would it be the Zapdos or would it be the Terrakion? I actually Mega Evolve and fake out the Zapdos actually, just because I did not want Tailwind to be set up, because that would probably screw me. So I fake out the Zapdos and taunt the Gengar, which was the safest play, so he couldn't get a Will-O-Wisp off and he couldn't get a Tailwind off. Now he actually goes for Rock Slide. I could switch out Kangaskhan, but I predicted him not to close combat, knowing that a possible Togekiss switching. So I actually double attacked the Terrakion, and I know he can't protect thanks to the taunt. So a double attack will knock out this Terrakion, and close combat's too risky of a play is because Thundurus could have knocked out his Terrakion at -1. So I double target into Terrakion, stay in with the Kangaskhan, and actually am able to pick up the knockout, which is perfect because Terrakion's a really big threat to my team. Zapdos reveals the Hidden Power Ice, which is going to connect with my Thundurus and pick up the knockout. But really, Thundurus did a nice job against this team. As Gengar is actually going to come out now, and I am going to send out my Suicune. So here, I probably am accepting the Will-O-Wisp into the Kangaskhan, but I'm at +2, so I don't really mind that. It's actually going to Tailwind with taunt the Suicune, probably expecting the Tailwind. As I go for the return and pick up the knockout on Zapdos, which is huge as that was a threat to the Suicune. As I do Scald the Gengar, trying to get rid of it as quick as possible, as I do not want that Will-O-Wisp. As Heatran is going to come out as my opponent's last Pokemon, and this game's pretty much mine. His Heatran does protect, and I do expect that. So I Sucker Punch into the Gengar, because the only way he could win this game is using Gengar to hit my Suicune, because Suicune walls Heatran otherwise, so I just Sucker Punch and Scalded the Gengar slot. Even if Heatran did not protect, I would still be in a fine position. As I just Power Punch and Scald the Heatran for a game. Really did think I played well in this game. I actually get an unnecessary Power Punch, and now I have a +4 Kangaskhan. As Suicune just gets the Scald off onto the Heatran. Actually, no, he gets a Heat Wave off. My Suicune is imperfect right now, as the Speed Ivies are quite low. But I do get the Scald off onto the Heatran, and that will be the game. So, really dominant game I played. I think I just made the right calls with the Gengar and the Terrakion, and was able to utilize that. Okay, we have round 7 versus Wade Rooker. My team will be Kangaskhan, Suicune, Thundurus Incarnate, Breloom, Bisharp, and Togekiss versus his team of Terrakion, Thundurus Incarnate, Suicune, Hydreigon, Mawa, and Amoonguss. So the big things to note here is I really don't like facing Amoonguss, since my team actually has a bit of trouble against Amoonguss. And another annoying thing would be the Mega Mawa, which is the first time I've seen Mega Mawa today at Regionals. So it definitely will be annoying, since Mawa is actually a pretty big threat. I mean, I do have things to deal with it. Suicune deals with it pretty well. Breloom can get a fast Spore up. Bisharp does like getting the Defiant boost. And Togekiss does have Heat Wave and can Air Slash flinch it if necessary. So, definitely I do see Terrakion coming in, but most opponents that I've been facing do not lead Terrakion, so I really wouldn't assume Terrakion as a lead. I really think the safe lead here would be Suicune, since Suicune kind of walls this team. And I'm thinking Thundurus Incarnate. The reason I'm thinking of this is to knock out the Amoonguss as quick as possible, since Amoonguss is a really big threat to my team. I know I want to have Kangaskhan in the back. Even if Kangaskhan doesn't do really well against this team, it does offer me the fake out support, and the Power Punch might actually come into play if I can pull it off at the right timing. And in the back, I'm thinking Bisharp just to deal with the Mawile. It does pretty good damage with knockoff on the Amoonguss, and it really hits things hard with Sucker Punch as well, so that's why I lean toward Bisharp. Alright, let's get into this game. My opponent's going to lead Thundurus and Mawile against my Thundurus and Suicune. Thundurus and Suicune was pretty much a safe lead for me, as his Mawile is going to get intimidated off onto both my special attackers. Not really a big deal for me. However, that Thundurus will be annoying. So I'm actually going to withdraw Suicune, as I do not want to take a Thunderbolt straight away, and I'm willing to sacrifice Kangaskhan, as Kangaskhan really doesn't have a great matchup in this game. I'm also expecting a possible taunt from the Thundurus, as Mawa is going to Mega Evolve, and Thundurus is actually going to go for the taunt straight onto my Thundurus, not wanting any Thundurus shenanigans, as I just go for the HP Ice, trying to knock out this Thundurus as quick as possible, since Thundurus is a very annoying Pokemon to play against, as he goes for the Play Rough into my Thundurus slot, which doesn't KO, surprisingly, as I'm going to withdraw my Thundurus to avoid any Sucker Punches coming my way, and send out a Bisharp, as he's actually going to withdraw his Thundurus and go into his Terrakion, which was the thing that really was scaring me. I really wish I predicted that, but I did not want to risk the possible Thunder Wave. Gonna Mega Evolve with Kangaskhan, and yeah, the Mawile does not protect, unfortunately, and actually I went for the return instead of Fake Out. I wanted to get rid of the Thunders as quick as possible, which actually does a lot to Terrakion, and Iron Head onto the Kangaskhan. So pretty much I think I'm screwed here, as I make a last resort to Sucker Punching this Terrakion, double Sucker Punching. If this works, and I knock out the Terrakion, I actually win the game, I think. But if it survives with 1 HP, it sweeps with Rock Slide. So I have to hope that double Sucker Punch, and according to the calculations I was doing, it should have worked, as Sucker Punch is actually able to pick up the knockout onto Terrakion, and that was the big threat out of the way. However, I'm still down, and the Mega Mawile was definitely a big threat, and his Thundurus stayed alive, as Mawile is going to play rough my Bisharp and pick up the knockout, which, yeah, this is definitely a scary position, as my Thundurus is weakened, and I only have my Suicune as reliable damage, so I'm going to send out my Suicune right now. And right here, wondering what to do, but I'm hoping Mawile might protect, so I'm going to switch out my Kangaskhan and go into the Thundurus, expecting a taunt from the Thundurus into my Suicune, as he does go for that play and taunts my Suicune, which is perfect for me, as Mawile actually goes for a Sucker Punch into Kangaskhan. I'm going to get the Hydro Pump off onto this Thundurus, which actually gets a critical hit, but since it's a Choice Spec Suicune, it actually didn't matter with the crit, but I did react like it mattered because playing with my opponent's head right now. Hydreigon's going to come in and protect here, probably just to avoid any Thunder Waves coming into it, which I did go for in the safe play in case it was Specs. Hydro Pump going to connect with the Mawile, and this does a lot of damage, as you can see. Barely misses the knockout, as he goes for the Play Rough into my Suicune, and lowers my attack, but it doesn't matter, as I go for the Thunder Wave onto the Hydreigon, as I need to slow down this Hydreigon. Probably going to have to rely on a bit of Para Hacks, as Sucker Punch is going to happen onto my Thundurus, and Draco Meteor actually going to connect with my Suicune. I went for a Thunder Wave because I did not want Sucker Punch happening on any of my Pokemon, as Draco Meteor, a critical hit, but didn't matter at this point, especially since the Hydreigon reveals Life Orb. Plus, my Suicune was pretty much weakened already, as I'm going to send out Kangaskhan here, and this is pretty much a really close game. It really depends on what he does with his Mawile. My opponent attempts to go for a double protect with both his Pokemon, however Hydreigon does get paralyzed, as I went straight for the return onto Hydreigon, predicting him to go for protect with Mawile and attack with Hydreigon, just to make those plays. I actually pick up the knockout onto Hydreigon, which pretty much ends the game here, as I double targeted with a hidden power. And into the Mawile, and this game's pretty much mine, as I can Sucker Punch the Mawile for game. So I did have to rely on Para. However, depending on what he did with his Mawile next turn, if he Sucker Punched, or if he attempted to go for a double protect. If he went for the double protect, I actually might have lost and would have to rely on another Para in order to win this game. However, I definitely did play my odds a bit, and it definitely worked out for me. As you can see, Thunder Wave, a very strong move in VGC.
Okay, round 8, I actually got a previous Worlds player, Ashton Cox, who's one of the strongest opponents in the East Coast and the world. He was one of my inspirations to use Salk at the 2014 World Championship Last Chance Qualifier, which I actually was able to make it through and play that world. Yeah, I definitely know him, and I was glad to see he was using Salk again. My team will be Kangaskhan, Suicune, Thundurus Incarnate, Breloom, Bisharp, and Togekiss, against his interesting team of Hydreigon, Heatran, Gardevoir, Swampert, Salk, and Thundurus Incarnate. So right away, I'm trying to figure out what is his speed control, and it looked like his only speed control would probably be Trick Room, Mega Gardevoir. Thundurus Incarnate with Thunder Wave is also a possibility, and Hydreigon, who can have a Tailwind or a Thunder Wave set. So right away, I'm wondering what to lead, and I feel like Kangaskhan Thundurus is another safe lead, because the Fake Out Pressure plus Thunder Wave does pretty well against this entire team. And in the back, I know Suicune, because Suicune really does a lot of damage against the Swampert and Heatran, who can't really touch it for much damage. And I almost ran out of time, and it was either between Bisharp, because Bisharp actually looks really well in this game, especially for the Mega Gardevoir, or it was Togekiss, because I might have wanted to wall the Hydreigon and switch out into a close combat if necessary. So I ended up going with Togekiss, and right after I picked my Pokemon, I actually thought that Togekiss might have been a mistake. So we'll see how this goes.
Alright, let's get into this game. James versus Ashton. Kangaskhan and Thundurus are going to be my leads against Hydreigon and Sawk. So first turn, I'm expecting him not to close combat with his Sawk, expecting a switch out, and probably like Stone Edging or Ice Punching my my Thundurus. So I actually double target. He protects with his Sawk, which I was not expecting. I was expecting Choice Scarf, but I'm fine with it, as I do get the Fake Out onto Hydreigon, and I reveal he's not a Choice Scarf Sawk. His Fake Out does a lot to his Hydreigon, and I go for the Thunder Wave into the Sawk, expecting the Choice Scarf. So now I'm going to taunt the Hydreigon. Seeing Protect on Sawk makes me think that Hydreigon has some kind of speed control, Thunder Wave or Tailwind, so I want to taunt it, and I return to Sawk because I do not want to risk him staying in and going for the close combat onto my Kangaskhan, which does pick up the knockout, as Hydreigon does reveal that Tailwind, which I'm perfectly fine with. He's actually going to send out Heatran as his next Pokemon, and right here I'm going to Thunder Wave the Heatran because it makes my Suicune faster than his Heatran, which definitely does help since my Suicune's imperfect in speed, as a return is actually going to happen onto his Hydreigon and knock it out. So I assumed his Gardevoir was in the back, and if he switched in Gardevoir, he pretty much lost the game there, so he had to sack off Hydreigon. As Heat Wave, Thundurus actually avoids the attack, which is pretty nice, and Heat Wave does a lot to Kangaskhan, as you can see. It reveals Life Orb Heatran and goes into Gardevoir. Now here's where I start making a bunch of safe plays, as Trace is going to Trace Prankster, which doesn't matter on a Mega Gardevoir. Gardevoir going to go for the Protect. I actually just went straight for the return into the Gardevoir slot and the Thunderbolt into Heatran. A really safe play. I was really thinking of double targeting the Heatran slot, but I did not want to risk like Trick Room Mega Gardevoir, which is possible. As Heat Wave going to connect and knock out my Kangaskhan. A critical hit probably didn't matter at the range that the last Heat Wave did, and a nice job to my Thundurus. As right now, gonna send out Suicune, and I pretty much want to knock out this Heatran, and all I have to do really is Thunder Wave this Gardevoir, and this should be a game. I do have Togekiss in the back, so I'm fine with this position as long as I Thunder Wave the Gardevoir and knock out the Heatran. Heatran's gonna go for the Protect, which was obvious. I probably should have double targeted the Gardevoir, but I'm fine with this, because Gardevoir shouldn't be able to knock out my Suicune no matter what move it has, even if it has Thunderbolt or Energy Ball. As Gardevoir is going to go for the Hyper Voice and knock out my Thundurus and actually do a lot to my Suicune. So now it's actually a really close game as I Scald into the Heatran's Protect. Gonna have to send out Togekiss, and time to go for the infamous Paraflinch as Heatran attempts for a double Protect, which was the only way for him to win really, as I Air Slash the Gardevoir and Scald the Heatran, because I knew that Heatran would want to go for double Protect, but the odds were against it with him being paralyzed, and the chance of double Protect is very slim also. And Gardevoir does get paralyzed. After all, it's a 60% chance to flinch and a 25% chance of being paralyzed. So I knew his Gardevoir wasn't able to move really, and I utilized my odds and able to knock out the Gardevoir with a Scald. And that will be the game against Ashton. So really close game, and I really did enjoy that. The next game is also exciting, so stay tuned.
Alright, round 9 will be versus Jeremy Rodriguez, and Jeremy Rodriguez is known as Serapis on Pokemon Showdown and Nugget Bridge, and I do know him. We have played many times, especially in the 2014 format. He has top cut of regionals, and he was known for Pledge, especially in the 14 season, so definitely was interested to see what kind of team he was bringing this time. Of course, my team will be Kangaskhan, Suicune, Thundurus Incarnate, Breloom, Bishop, Togekiss versus Escadrille, Salamence, Zapdos, Virizion, Volcarona, and Swampert. So the interesting things that were occurring to me were Escadrille, obviously, since Escadrille is a Pokemon you don't normally see in VGC anymore. It was popular in 13, but not much in 15. As you can see, there's no Tyranitar or Hippowdon to set the scent, so it's going to be the Mold Breaker set, and Randy Quav did use Mold Breaker a lot in the 2013 season. I have used it myself personally, and I do like it a lot. It does pretty well against Pokemon such as Rotom Wash. So Escadrille with Mold Breaker, I'm curious about the item. I'm thinking it might be a possible Scarf item, so that's what I'm trying to Wonder, as Salamence will be his Mega Pokemon from what I see, and that's obviously very annoying to deal with. We have the Zapdos, who probably supports with Tailwind. Virizion usually carry the Life Orb item in VGC 15. I have used Virizion in the past, so I do know quite a bit about the Virizion. Their most common sets are Close Combat, Stone Edge, Leaf Blade, and Protect, which actually hits every single member of my team for pretty much super effective damage other than Breloom, who doesn't want to face Virizion in the first place. Volcarona is an interesting Pokemon. It was used a lot in VGC 13 as well, however, it has grown a lot weaker as its physical defense isn't that great, and it's really hard to bring now, especially with so much physical threats like Terrakion being popularized. There are three possible different Volcarona sets he could have been running. There's the Tailwind set, there's the Quiver Dance set, and there's the Rage Powder set. However, I really wasn't worried about Volcarona, to be honest. And Swampert, who offered Wide Guard support, most likely. Probably not a Mega Pokemon. So here, I feel like, so against this team, I can actually bring Kangaskhan and Togekiss as elite, since Kangaskhan and Togekiss puts a lot of pressure, and I can easily set up Power Punch and follow me. The only problem with that is obviously the Virizion. However, Virizion and Togekiss, Air Slash from Togekiss on 4 HP Virizion's pretty much always knocks it out, which is actually impressive, even with no special attack investment. So I definitely knew I was pretty much safe with that lead. I definitely wanted Suicune in the back, since Suicune hits this team pretty hard. The Volcarona, the Swampert, the Escadrille, and Salamence don't appreciate any of the attacks, and in the back, I think I was gonna go Thundurus just because I like the idea of Thunder Waving these Pokemon in order to gain some speed control. I was thinking about bringing Breloom, since Mach Punch might have been useful, but then again, there's Salamence, Zapdos, Virizion, Volcarona, but Breloom doesn't want to deal with. I didn't want to bring Bisharp into this game just because he has 5 Pokemon who can hit Bisharp for super effective damage, so just decided to go with Kangaskhan, Togekiss, Suicune, and Thundurus for this game.
Alright, me and Jeremy, we're both 6'2", so the winner will be guaranteed a top 32 finish and a chance at top cut, while the loser will be going home with less CP and no chance at top cut. I think Kangaskhan, Togekiss versus his Virizion and Zapdos. So right here, I took a lot of time thinking about this, and I expect his Virizion to either protect or Stone Edge my Togekiss, because the close combat play is obvious, and he does go for the protect, so I did take the chance, and it did pay off as I fake out the Zapdos not wanting a Tailwind to be set up, as Tailwind would be pretty bad, and I actually get a crit, which does a lot of damage. As my Togekiss does get the Tailwind up, which is perfect, as that's what I need in order to start off this game perfectly. He's actually going to withdraw his Virizion, and I pretty much did expect this, but I really didn't want to risk that Virizion staying in and close combating, as he sends out Salamence, which does make a lot of sense. I did try to predict this, but I just went straight for the return onto the Zapdos, and the return's actually not able to knock out due to the Intimidate, and the Air Slash does connect with the Salamence, which actually does a pretty good amount, as Zapdos does set up its own Tailwind, and he will have one more Tailwind turn, so this is definitely going to be an annoying game. His Salamence is going to Mega Evolve, and Mega Salamence, oh boy, it's going to be powerful. Right now, I feel like I want to set up and Power Punch his Zapdos. I was thinking that Power Punch might not be able to KO, but I was fine with taking the odds, so I go for the Power Punch onto his Zapdos, gain the +2, which makes my Kangaskhan a threat, +1 now because of the Intimidate before. His Salamence reveals Return and does a lot to my Togekiss, as Zapdos actually goes for the Roost, which I am perfectly fine with, to be honest. As that means my Kangaskhan got a free Power Punch. As I go for the Heat Wave, Zapdos actually avoids the attack. However, I do connect with his Salamence, and I'm pretty much going for a burn, and I actually do get the burn on his Salamence, which is basically the most ideal thing that could have happened so far. Now I withdraw Togekiss, as I might need Togekiss for the Virizion later. That's what I'm assuming. I'm probably going to need it, as I just go for the return onto the Zapdos, and Zapdos is the threat to my Togekiss and my Suicune, and that in the back, which will be annoying to deal with. As Salamence goes for the return onto the Thundurus, and thanks to the burn, it really doesn't do much at all. As Salaman's going to take more chip damage, and my Tailwind peers out, which means he has one turn of Tailwind. He's going to reveal Escadrille as his last Pokemon, with Mold Breaker as anticipated. Salamence is actually going to withdraw here. I targeted that slot with Hidden Power Ice, knowing I can either knock out the Salamence or do some decent damage to Virizion that switches out. As Escadrille does protect, trying to avoid the Sucker Punch feint, but I'm fine with that as Sucker Punch fails and I do get the Hidden Power off onto this Virizion, which does quite a bit of damage as you can see, and Tailwind peers out from my opponent's side. Here I'm expecting this straight close combat as he needs to get rid of this Kangaskhan right away, so I send out Togekiss. And Escadrille actually goes for a double protect, really wanted to avoid any fighting type or Sucker Punch moves, as I just go for the Thunder Wave onto Virizion because pretty much slowing down this Virizion guarantees me the game, as Virizion's actually paralyzed, but it actually helps him since he went for the close combat into Terrakion, not the Kangaskhan slot, and that would have been bad for him. He switches out Virizion into Salamence, trying to bait it off, as I go for the Hidden Power to knock out this Salamence, and I go for the Heat Wave again, trying to pick up damage onto this Escadrille. A critical hit not mattering, as Rock Slide going to occur, and Thundurus actually avoids the attack, which is nice, but I would have actually been better off if Thundurus was knocked out here, because it would have let me bring in Suicune, and I would have knocked out the Escadrille no problem, and the Virizion's paralyzed, so Return does knock it out at the range it is. So Virizion going to come out, and I'm going to send up my Kangaskhan, and pretty much I'm going to be going for the safe play now, as I do not want to throw this game, as Virizion goes for the Protect, which I'm fine with, as I just go for the Return into the Virizion and Hidden Power the Escadrille, trying to get some damage off at least. And it does a pretty good amount, as Escadrille actually goes for the Iron Head into the Kangaskhan, which I'm okay with. It's taking Life Orb damage, so the timer is clicking. Right here I'm going to switch out my Thundurus into Suicune, and pretty much I know how this game is going to work now. I just send out Suicune so I don't lose Thundurus in case I need it in the back. Escadrille goes for Protect. I was anticipating maybe a double Protect on Virizion, but I just needed to KO the Virizion for this game. As you can see, Suicune deals with Escadrille just fine. As I pick up the knockout onto the Virizion, and right here, I'm just going to Sucker Punch, as I'm going to get as much residual damage off onto the Escadrille as possible, so Life Orb will pretty much be able to knock it out. His Escadrille actually hangs on with 1 HP, literally at 1 HP, as he goes for the Earthquake, and he's going to knock out my Kangaskhan, and bring my Suicune down to about a little over half, and knock himself out to the Life Orb. So yeah, definitely that was an interesting regionals game. So I ended up going 7-2 in the tournament, getting 26th place, unfortunately missing top cut again at another regionals, but I'm actually satisfied, as going 1-2 to 7-2 is a big deal because you have to win 6 games in a row, and that was after lunch break. So definitely satisfied with that. It says 6-2 on the screen, but as I said earlier, an opponent disconnected, and there were 9 rounds of Swiss in Virginia. So definitely loved the team I used. The team I used was so strong, and I won't be revealing any spreads or anything because I might use some of these Pokemon later in the format. Not sure about Spec Suicune, but it definitely did do a lot of work against it in this tournament, as you saw with the Ferrothorn, especially in the round 5. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this regionals episode. You guys got to see about 5 games of my regionals team, and a lot of great opponents. Ashton and Jeremy, really good friends of mine. Jeremy, we play a lot on Showdown together, especially in the 2014 season, and Ashton, of course, did inspire me to use Sock at the 2014 World Championship LCQ, where I actually was able to get through the LCQ. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a like if you guys did. Check out my other social medias. Check out my VGC series on BattleSpot, where I do a lot of VGC content. And yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch if you guys are interested in more Pokemon. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.